A very good noon to one and all. Today, in this lecture, we will be discussing about the new topic comparators. So, today in this lecture, uh, we will learn about some of the topics like introduction to comparators and what are the features of comparators and the how comparators are classified. Okay, so let us start about the discussion about comparator. So, introduction to comparators. Now, these comparators indicate the differences in size between the standard and the workpiece being measured. Okay, so this is the instrument in which we can indicate the differences in size between the standard and workpiece being measured. So, there is an integral display unit with a sufficient magnification. That means it does not indicate or it does not measure the actual dimension of the workpiece, but it indicates how much it differs in size from the basic desired dimension. Okay, so finally, what is the comparator means? Comparator is a instrument. Comparator is an instrument in which we can find out the difference in size from the basics dimension value, but it does not measure the actual dimension of a workpiece. Okay, so however, the comparators can be used for direct measurement within its range of operation. Okay, for example, if the range of the dial indicator is 0 to 10 mm, so dial indicator is one of the comparator, mechanical comparator. So if the range of dial indicator is 0 to 10 mm, within this range, the comparator can be used for direct measurement of the workpiece. Now this figure shows the basic system of the mechanical indicator. So we have a stage wherein the standard and the workpieces can be placed, and there is an arrangement. There is a column to which the comparator can be mounted, and the differences initially we have to place the standard on the table, and we should set the reading of the comparator to 0, and then we have to remove the standard, and we have to place the workpiece of unknown size between the table and the spindle, and the dial indicator of the mechanical comparator shows the reading which will be difference from the basic size. These comparators are the instruments calibrated by means of n standards, for example slip gauges, to quantify the unknown dimensions. The purpose of the comparator is to detect and display the small differences between the unknown dimensions and the standard dimensions. The difference in dimensions is detected as a displacement of a sensing probe. Okay. For example, the contact probe in the dial indicator, the movement of the contact probe in the dial indicator, and the difference in the dimension is also detected by the comparison of shadow with a chart gauge, which will be discussing after some time. So the important and essential function of the instrument is to magnify the small input displacement so that it is displayed on an analog or digital scale. Comparators are used in the mass production to inspect the components to very close tolerance with a high degree of precision and speed. Quickly we can inspect the workpieces and we can segregate as acceptable workpieces and not acceptable workpieces also. So use of this such as standards like such instruments like vernier calipers and micrometers requires considerable skill in the use of these instruments, whereas the use of comparators is relatively easy and quick, and the multiple dimensions can be checked in very short time by using the comparators. Okay. And now overall the comparators, a comparator is a precision instrument employed to compare the dimension of a given component with a working standard. So it does not measure the actual dimension but indicates how much it differs from the basic dimension. The indicated difference is usually small and hence suitable magnification device is provided to measure the difference with consistent accuracy. So thus a comparator is an indirect type of precision instrument which gives linear measurements and works on relative environment measurements and indicates only dimensional difference in relation to the basic dimension, and it has a sensing device and which eliminates the human element in taking the measurement and gives accurate results consistently. So in so what are the features, basic features of comparators? So any comparator consists of a sensing device which faithfully senses the input signal, and there is a magnifying system to amplify the signal input signal to the suitable level. For this magnification different methods are used like mechanical method, optical method, and numerical method, hydraulic method, or electronic method of magnification. And any comparator will essentially consist of a display system. Commonly a scale and a pointer is used. So these are the various types of comparators. So now what are the desirable features of a comparators? Now the scale of the comparator should be linear within the its operating range. There should be wide range for comparison so that it can be used for within a wide range of application. There should not be any backlash and friction between the moving parts should be very less, and inertia of the parts, the various parts should be less. It should be very precise and should have good measurement accuracy, and the indicator should be very much clear so that we can easily take the reading. The indicator can be analog type as shown in this figure here. We can see the analog indicator. So it starts from 0 1 2 3 4 3 5 again in the counterclockwise in 1 2 3 4 5. So this is a contact probe, and we have the pointer, and we can see the markings on the screen are very much clear so that we can easily read, and so it's a digital indicator, so that we can easily take the reading, as also we can transfer the data via some communication system to the computer system. Now, the other desirable features are it should be easy to operate, and it should not require much skill of the operation, and no zero error. There should not be any pointer oscillations, and it should move smoothly, move over its range, and the system should be robust in design. The system should be robust in design, so that it withstands the reasonable ill usage, and the measuring pressure should be very low, and it should be uniform throughout the operation, and there should be inbuilt compensation for temperature effects, inbuilt compensation for the temperature effects. So you can see a system which has a comparator system with the base, and there is a column. You can see the threaded column, so that this measuring head can be moved up and down. This height between the table and the probe can be adjusted depending upon the workpiece size, and also these tables are replaceable tables. Depending upon the applications, we can change the tables, and this is sensing probe. So the output, this is an example for electronic comparator. So like an LVDT, linear variable detect trans LVDT. When we place the workpiece, when we place the workpiece in between the table and the probe will move, and the signal is sent to the indicator, and the pointer will move on the scale, rotary scale, so we can select the desired range and the sensitivity of the operation. Now, how these comparators are classified depending upon the design. So they are classified as a mechanical comparator, electrical and electronic comparator, the pneumatic comparators, the optical comparators, which uses optical system, and fluid displacement comparators, the multi-check comparators, in which multiple dimensions can be checked in a time, and automatic gauging machines also there. So now these are the various types of comparators. Okay, so once again I am saying that what is a comparator. So comparator is a precision instrument which is employed to compare the dimension of a given component with the working standard. So it does not measure the actual dimension, but it indicates how much it differs from the basic dimension. So the main basic principle of operation of comparator. So the comparator is first adjusted to 0 on its dial or a recorded device with a gauge block in position. The gauge block of a dimension with the workpiece should have the workpiece to be checked is then placed in the position, and comparator give the difference in dimension in relation to the gauge block. So the dimension of the workpiece will be less than or equal or greater than the standard dimension. Okay, so if the dimension is less or greater than the standard, the difference will be shown on the dial or a recording device of the comparator. So thus a comparator does not give the dimension of the workpiece, but only gives the difference between the standard and the actual dimension of the workpiece. So this is the principle of the comparator. The main uses of comparator, it's used in laboratory standards, working gauges, and final inspection gauges, the receiving inspection gauges, and for checking newly purchased gauges, etc. So, what are the essential characteristics of a good comparator? Characteristics are various features of comparator we have discussed in this lecture, and the classification of comparators. So now, one by one, we will discuss about these comparators. So in this lecture, today's lecture, one comparator we will discuss. Now let us start the discussion on mechanical comparators. Now let us study the different displacement amplification systems, and what are the different types of application systems used in the mechanical comparators, and what are the various types of mechanical comparators. And the different types are available like dial indicator, reed type mechanical indicator, sigma comparator, and, Johansson microcator, and internal groove comparators. So uh, now the displacement amplification systems are used in the mechanical comparators are illustrated here. So the different amplification systems are used in the mechanical comparators like rack and pinion, and gear train. So we can see this in the, this is the spindle, and the contact spindle which contacts the workpiece. So when the workpiece is placed between the table and the spindle will move in. So the spindle is connected to the rack. So we have the rack cut on the spindle. So we have the pinion here. When the spindle moves, that is the rack moves, the pinion will rotate. So this rotation of the pinion is amplified using the gear train. Finally, the motion is transmitted to the pointer, and the pointer will move on a rotary scale, and then we can take the reading. Now, this is very simple gear train with 10 is to 1 ratio, and we have another simple gear train with rack, and we can see the rack which contains the contact probe. So when the rack moves up and down, this gear train will rotate, and we get an amplification of 10 is to 1 ratio. And then we have a compound gear train with rack. So this is the rack, and then we have a compound gate train which will give as 100 is to 1 amplification ratio. And then we have the length of the indicator hand f. So this is the length of the indicator. As the length of the indicator increases, there also we get some amplification. Now another amplification mechanisms usually is lever mechanism. So this is a simple lever with a 10 is to 1 ratio. We can see here, this is a contact point, and pivot is there. So the distance between the contact point and pivot is 1 mm here, 1 unit, and the distance uh, and the distance between the pivot and the tip of the pointer is 10. So this is, that is the signal, the displacement signal is amplified by 10 times. Now this shows a compound lever where wherein we get at an amplification of 256 times. So This is the contact point, and so there is pivot is there, and this here we have another secondary lever. So totally we get an amplification of 256 times. So another mechanism is cam and gate train. So there is a measuring spindle with a cam, and then we have a set of gates. So using this we get the amplification of the signals. And there is another system which uses a lever with the gear. Using lever system we get some amplification, and using the gate train we get added amplification, further amplification of the signal. Now there are other systems to amplify the input signal. This is a lever and gear. So there is lever and gear and twisted strip, and this lever is combined with the band wound around the drum. We have a drum here, and a band is wound around this drum. So there also we get the amplification of the signal. Okay, so this is about the uh, starting points about the mechanical comparators. So first instrument, now let us study a very common type of mechanical instrument is a mechanical indicator. So this is a dial indicator. So in the second unit we have discussed about this instrument. Once again we have learned about this dial indicator. So this dial indicator measures change in length, and it does not measure the length itself. Okay, however within its range of operation it measures the actual length of the workpieces. For example, if the range of the dial indicator is 0 to 10 mm, its range is 0 to 10 mm, and if the workpiece size is say 5 mm, so the mechanical dial indicator can be used directly to measure the length of the workpiece. So various names are used for dial indicators depending upon the type and the purpose, including the dial gauge. So probe indicator include dial gauge. Those names are dial gauge, probe indicator, test indicator, dial test indicator, drop indicator, plunger indicator, etc. Now this figure shows the arrangement of the dial indicator, and this table on which the standard or workpieces are placed. So there is a reference point and there is standard is there. For example, slip gauges can be used as a standard to set the desired distance between the plunger and the reference point. Okay, now we say we want a desired height of 10 mm. So this is the basic dimension. Then we use the slip gauge of 10 mm dimension. We keep it between the plunger and the table, that is the reference point, and we get the dial indicator to read 0. We adjust the height of the dial indicator so that it reads 0. Now we remove the standard and we place the workpiece whose height is to be checked, that is placed. The workpiece is placed between the plunger and the reference point. So if the size of the workpiece is greater than the standard size, that is 10 mm, then there is a error or difference from the basic size. So this difference in the size can be measured by using this dial indicator arrangement. Now let us study the basic operation of the mechanical indicator. This is dial indicator, and we have a granite table or a cast iron table which is the reference surface, and then we have a column on which we have an arrangement for mounting the dial indicator. So the dial indicator height can be adjusted by moving the bracket, or dial indicator itself can be moved up and down, and then it can be clamped by using this knob, and now this height can be adjusted depending upon the workpiece height. Now initially we have to adjust the height of the indicator to accommodate the workpieces of different heights, and then we have to insert the slip gauges between the spindle and the reference point, so between the contact probe and the reference point. So that is surface, top surface of the reference table, and should set the indicator to read 0. Now we should remove the slip gauge and insert the workpiece. Standard should be removed on the workpiece whose heights are to be inspected or inserted between the table and the plunger, and then if the size is different from the standard size, the pointer will move, and that will show the change in the difference, so that is recorded. Now let us study the construction of the dial indicator. There are many parts in the dial indicator. So this is the indicator hand is there, and then we have a rotary scale with the markings, and there is a dust cap to protect the rack, and we have a bezel to protect the pointer and the scale, so bezel clamp, and then we have the stem connected to the back and connected to the body of the dial indicator, and then there is a rack or spindle, and then a contact probe is connected, mounted on the rack. Now there is a mounting lug. Okay, so using this this can be mounted to the stand. Now it shows a dial indicator wherein we can see we have a pointer, and then we have a revolution counter, and there is a scale, and we can see this is 0 and is 10 and 0 10. So the different markings are represented in the dial indicator, and the small markings represents 0.01 mm. So when the pointer moves from 0 to 10, so the displacement of the plunger will be 0.01 into the 10, that is into 10, that is 0.1 mm. So like that, if the pointer completes one revolution, it will be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and then 1 mm. So if the pointer completes one revolution, the moment of the plunger will be 1 mm. Like that, we can see the pointer can rotate 10 times, 10 revolutions. So we have 10 markings here, and 0 to 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the range of the dial indicator is 0 to 10 mm, and the least count is 0.01 mm. Okay, now let us see the internal construction of the dial indicator. So there is a mechanical type dial indicator. You can see the contact plunger, stem, and the back cover is open. So this is a spindle wherein rack is cut, and the rack is connected, is in the contact with the pinion, and then we have a set of gate train, and there is a spring to bring back the spindle back to the initial position when we remove the workpiece. So this is the digital dial indicator. We can see the digital display, and then we can set the tolerance limits, upper limit and lower limit. We can also set the display range, for example 0 to 10 mm, 0 to 20 mm, 0 to 30 mm. So the range can be selected. Now the magnified view of the internal structure, you can see the spindle on which the rack is cut, and the pinion is in contact with the rack, and there is a spring to bring back the rack when the workpiece is removed, and this is the guide for the rack, and this is a spring, and there is a gate train for amplification of the signal. The gate train amplification is the most common method used to magnify the dial indicator motion, that is a plunger motion, because its accuracy meets the requirements of comparison measurements. So in use the sensitive contact probe is a part of rack, in which a series of 3 to 5 gears magnifies and transmits the moment of contact probe to the pinion gear, on which the indicator hand is mounted. Now you can see the dial indicator back cover is open, and this plunger, you can see the movement of the plunger. We have a guide for the movement of the plunger and the plunger rod, and a guide rod, sorry, not plunger rod, it's a movement of plunger and a guide rod. So we can also see the rack and pinion, you can also see the spring also there. Now various different types of dials are used. There is a dial with continuous clockwise markings, like 0 to 90 markings, and this is a continuous counterclockwise markings also there, and there is a balanced type that is in clockwise we have 0 to 50 markings are there, and then counterclockwise we have 0 to 50 markings. Here we have a different contact points. Here we have a flat and round contact points. So we have this flat contact point, and there is an anvil of the table on which workpiece is mounted. The workpiece with flat surface and the round workpiece. Okay. Now it is very essential that the surface of the flat contact point should be parallel to the anvil surface. Otherwise, it will give some error, and we can see here round contact points. Okay. Now when we use round contact points, and when we are checking the round parts, it is essential that the contact point contacts the maximum size of the workpiece. For example, the diameter of the workpiece. If we place the cylindrical object like this, cylindrical object, uh, then we get the error in the reading. The readability of the dial indicator is another important thing. We can see here the commercial dial indicator wherein markings are there, and they are very much clear, so reading is very easy. And also one can have a digital indicator wherein you can select the metric system or English system. Now the measurement errors in the dial indicator. Now we can see here in this figure we have table on the workpieces are placed. Now we have this dial indicator mounted on this arm. Now we insert the workpiece. What happens if the arm is not rigid enough? It will bend, and then we get a wrong reading. So how do we eliminate this deflection of this support? We should use rigid, very strong arm, or else we have to minimize the overhang of this dial indicator. It should be moved as close to the column as possible, and also we can minimize the deflection of these supports using extra support. Okay. Now now We will move to the another type of mechanical comparator, that is reed type mechanical comparator. This structure shows the arrangement of reed type mechanical operator. We have two members. Member A, this is a movable member. It will move up and down. And there is a fixed member, and these two are connected by means of a horizontal reeds. We have a horizontal reed here, and we have another horizontal reed also there. So uh, these are the two horizontal reeds named R1, no, and we have a set of vertical reed R2, and one vertical reed is connected to the movable member, and another vertical reed is fixed to the fixed member. Now, when the component is inserted between the surface plate and the plunger will move. So this X is the input displacement. Depending upon the components, the plunger will move up and down, and the movable member A will also move up and down. The two vertical reeds are joined at the top, and then a pointer is fixed at this point. So since the two vertical reeds are joined and the plunger moves up and down, the reed will tilt in this fashion, and hence the pointer will also move, and then we can note down the reading, the displacement reading. So a linear motion of the spindle moves the free block vertically, causing the vertical reed on the floating block to the slide past the vertical reed on the fixed block. Now, as these vertical reeds are joined at the upper end, the two reeds are joined at the upper end. Instead of slipping, the movement causes both the reeds swing through an arc, and the pointers swings through a much wider distance. The amount of pointer swing is proportional to the distance the floating block has moved, but of course very much magnified. Now this shows the amplified view of the fixed block, and then a vertical reeds, that this spindle which is fixed to the movable member, and the two vertical reeds are joined together at the end of at the top end we have the pointer. So now A is the displacement depending upon the height of the workpiece. Then A can be positive or negative, and then when the height of the workpiece is greater than the standard of desired height, the spindle will move in this direction and the pointer will swing in this direction. If the height is smaller than the desired height, then the swing will be in this direction and the pointer will swing, and then you can note down the reading. These comparators are available in the amplifications ranging from 500 to 1000. The comparators of this type have sensitivities of order 0.002 mm per scale division. Now again we have a reed type comparator wherein the mechanical pointer is replaced with an optical lever. So this is the top end of the vertical reeds, and we have a lamp and the lens. So we get the light beam here. So light beam will move in this direction. So we have a mirror. So light is reflected back. So when the top end of the reed moves, swings in this fashion, the reflected light will also move on scale, and hence we can note down the displacement of the spindle. So in this case, the magnification is obtained by the length of this vertical reed, as also the magnification is further the magnification is obtained by this optical arrangement. So in this lecture, uh, we have discussed about the introduction about the dial indicators and need of dial indicator, basic principle of dial indicator, and what are the features of dial indicator, and uses of sorry in this lecture we have learned about the comparators, introduction about the comparator, need and the basic principle of operation of comparator, uses of comparator, various features of comparator, and the classification of comparators, types. Okay, so in this lecture we have discussed about the dial indicator and read type comparator also we have discussed, and in the next class again we will discuss about the read type mechanical comparator, and Johansson microcator is also there, and the sigma comparator is also there. So these four types of mechanical comparators we have discussed. Okay, so I hope everyone understand the introduction about the comparators and mechanical type comparators. Two mechanical type comparators. It's a dial indicator and a read type mechanical comparator. Okay, so stay home, stay safe. Okay, bye.